Hello and welcome to another lightest and best House of Wisdom video, and today we're going to be looking at one of the lightest products that WE Knives has ever produced. It is the WE 804 Vapor. WE Knives is a high-end production company made in China. Their goal is to make around 20 different models annually. In 2018, they've been releasing some smaller, lighter knives, which is really a thrill for me. We'll talk about the specifications of the Vapor. The blade length is 2.95 inches. The handle is 3.87 inches, giving a total knife length of 6.82 inches. The weight of the Vapor is 2.68 ounces. I have some knives for comparison. We'll start out with the Chris Reeves Sebenza. And the Vapor and the Sebenza are pretty much the same size. The Sebenza may be a titch little longer. And then the Chris Reeves Inkosi, which is a little smaller than the Vapor, but they're very comparable in size, both the small Sebenza and the small Inkosi. The blade of the Vapor is made of S35VN in a stone-washed configuration. It has a drop point blade and a high hollow ground with a prominent top swedge and jimping along the back of the spine that gives you good purchase. There's also an oval-shaped thumb hole for deployment. The method of deployment primarily is by flipper. There is this thumb hole I alluded to earlier, but because the detent is so strong, it is very uncomfortable to deploy it all by the thumb hole, although it is possible about half the time anyway. This knife is really meant, because of the strength of its detent, to be a flipper knife, and the flipping action is very snappy. The handle of the knife is made of titanium with a very smooth, beautiful carbon fiber overlay, or inlay should I say. The pivot on the knife is riding on ceramic bearings. Instead of the WE proprietary pivot, it has a T8 Torx bit as well as T8 Torx for all of the hardware. All of the hardware and the pivot have a blue anodizing. The lock on the knife is a frame lock, and as you can tell, this is about 50% engaged. There is a lock bar insert with over travel stop. And the pressure and tension on the frame lock is very strong on this knife. I'll talk about that a little bit later. On the handle, there is a full-length carbon fiber backspacer, and the clip feels like carbon fiber to me. I believe it's carbon fiber 3D machined rather than titanium. It looks and feels like carbon fiber at least. The ergonomics on the knife are fine. There is a place for your fingers, and the handle is just long enough at 3.87 inches to get all four of my fingers. If you had a large hand, you might want to use the forward finger choil to get all your fingers on it. The action of the knife is the thing that I'm going to be talking about. It has a very strong, fast, forward flipping agent because of its strong detent. It also has a strong lock bar tension, so whenever you try to close it, if you shake it shut, it doesn't shake shut very well. And some people like that, a strong lock bar tension and shakes shut, because they don't like the risk of a knife guillotining, free falling and guillotine your finger. Some people like it wherever you put the blade, it stays there, and that's this kind of action. And I tend to like a smoother action, and I maybe misuse the word smooth because some of the Chris Reeves knives are intentionally designed with the action to be that way. You flip them out, but whenever you close them, you shake and shake and shake and shake and shake and shake and shake. And they describe this as Sebenza smooth, but basically it's an action that wherever you leave the blade, it stays. And a lot of knife guys like that. They like to have that control of the blade. And here is the Inkosi, and it's a similar situation. You can flip it out, but whenever you retract it, the blade stays in whatever position, and if you try to shake it shut, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It takes about 7 shakes, so really you don't want to do that. You'd get pretty bored doing that. And this knife is similar. It has a snappy forward flipping action, and whenever you try to shake it shut, it takes several shakes and really isn't worth your time shaking shut. So it's one that you want to close manually like that. The signage on the knife is, just like all WE knives, very minimalistic. It has the WE maker's mark on the pivot, and again a WE maker's mark on the clip, and that's all the signage it is. Well done, WE Knives. The value of the WE 804 Vapor is $245. So what are my impressions about the 804 WE Vapor? I like it. I like that WE is taking the time to make smaller, lighter knives, and this is a good example of one. Are there opportunities for improvement? Well, yes, there are. For one thing, $245 is a pretty high price for any knife, so this knife falls into a category of some pretty stiff competition. Also, the action. For me, I like the smooth, fall shut actions of knives, but there are a lot of guys that like this kind of action where it's smooth, it's just not something that falls shut. You manually retract the blade. Also, the detent is strong. Actually, the detent is so strong that it's difficult to deploy it by the thumb hole. It's more useful to deploy it by the flipper, so you lose some functionality in deployment by having such a strong detent. But what do I like about it? The materials on this knife are great. It has titanium scales with the carbon fiber inlays. The steel on the blade is S35VN steel. I like it because it's light. It only weighs 2.68 ounces, very light knife. And it has great fit and finish. So, who is this knife for? It's for the person who likes a Chris Reeves style action. You can place it in any position you want and it won't move. And there's less risk of guillotining your finger with this knife. The WE 804 Vapor is a great attempt by WE Knives to make a small, light, high-quality knife, and I think they succeeded. Well, hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next House of Wisdom Lightest and Best Knife Review video.